Federal Judge Raymond Jackson in Norfolk overturned a couple of life sentences for Lee Boyd Malvo, one of the most infamous Washington, D.C. snipers in the recent times, Friday. Citing the 2012 Supreme Court ruling that judges must consider the unique circumstances of each juvenile offender, banning mandatory sentences of life without parole for all juveniles. Jackson stated that Malvo's life sentences were unconstitutional and ordered Virginia courts to hold new sentencing hearings for the same. Malvo has been convicted of murdering 10 people and injuring 3 others in Maryland, Virginia, and the D.C. area. When he was arrested back in 2002, he was 17 years old. The news that Malvo could potentially walk away with a much-reduced sentence was deeply disturbing to Cheryl Shaw, the daughter of Jerry Taylor, who was killed by Malvo in Tucson, Arizona, March 2002, prior to the days of the duo operating in the D.C. area. "I was at peace knowing Muhammad was executed and Malvo was serving life without parole. I was able to move on with my life," she said, Chicago Tribune reported. But if he going to be let out in my lifetime, I am not comfortable with that. Sniper suspect Lee Boyd Malvo, C., is escorted by deputies as he is brought into court to be identified by a witness during the murder trial in courtroom 10 at the Virginia Beach Circuit Court in Virginia Beach, Virginia, October 22, 2003. However, Bob Myers, brother of Dean Myers, another victim of Malvo's killing spree, had a more accepting view of the verdict reversal. "We will trust the people who are making these decisions know what they are doing and are not putting a monster on the street." Myers added that he had to find it in his heart to forgive Malvo and his accomplice because that was the only way they could survive moving forward. "Not because we wanted them not to have consequences, but because we wanted to be free of being stuck on that point for the rest of our lives. We wanted to go on with our lives," Myers told in a phone interview with NBC News. The Attorney General's office unsuccessfully argued against the federal judge's order, stating that Malvo willingly waived his appeal rights when he struck the plea bargain in Spotsylvania County after he was given a life sentence. Rejecting the counter-argument, Jackson added that his ruling would stand because Malvo did not have the knowledge of Supreme Court's rule that grants juveniles additional rights at the time that he agreed to waive his appeal rights. Crucially, neither the plea agreement nor the sentencing judge provided any notification that, by signing the plea agreement, he was waiving his Eighth Amendment right to a sentencing hearing in which the judge must determine whether the juvenile offender before it is a child whose crimes reflect transient immaturity or is one of those rare children whose crimes reflect irreparable corruption, Jackson wrote in a statement. Malvo's accomplice and mentor, John Allen Muhammad, who was the mastermind behind the shootings, was executed in 2009. Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney Ray Morrow, who was in the team of prosecutors against Malvo, said the Virginia Attorney General can appeal Jackson's ruling. However, if that does not happen, he would seek to pursue yet another life sentence for Malvo, the News Tribune reported.